appreciate the opportunity that Tony has extended to me to present this evening about the census. Obviously, things are a little different right now because of COVID-19, but we are still doing a lot of work, and especially with our partners, especially with our complete count committees. Councilman Flores is on the call with us right now, and he's a part of the complete count committee for Fort Worth. And so we thank you for all of your hard work, Councilman Flores, and Tony, for all that you do as well. You want to advance the slide there, Tony?
My pleasure.
So we'll just go through a quick overview and talk about some of the activities that are going on and talk about some resources.
In America, we all count.
It will help small business, not just barbershops, but all small businesses.
The future is in education.
The biggest improvement I'd like to see is the road.
We need parks and civic space.
I will definitely tell my friends to complete the census.
It's important to figure out where we're going as a country.
This is the count that informs where hundreds of billions in funding will go each year for things like education, healthcare, and programs that touch us all.
Completing your 2020 census could mean smoother roads
or more representation in our government.
We're kind of depending on you here.
Complete the census online, by phone, or by mail. Shape your future. Start here at 2020census.gov.
Why we do the census, it's in the Constitution that we have to count everybody every 10 years. And so, next slide. The first one was actually done in 1790, but it's for apportionment, which means how many seats we get in the House of Representatives. And so based on the 2010 results, some states gained and some states lost, and that'll happen again in 2020 as well. We gained 4 seats in Texas in 2010. They're expecting a couple to 3, maybe 4 again this time around, because as you know, everybody's moving here. So you go to the next slide. We keep everything confidential, even though most of the census workers only work for the census for a year to 18 months maybe. We have to take a lifetime pledge so that all the information is confidential, and we are not allowed to divulge it to anyone, even within the government. And it's can be up to 5 years and $250,000 per offense. But we do release confidential data after 72 years because they figure by then the people that it affected are no longer with us or is not as impactful as it could have been. Go to the next slide. The other reason that we do it is for distribution of resources. So we're talking about billions of dollars that the federal government gives to various programs. This also impacts redistricting of state and legislative districts, helps to forecast future transportation needs, determines areas of eligibility for housing assistance. So it goes to the CDBG, Community Development Block Grant funding. It helps with nonprofits, helps with where we're going to build the next roads, the next schools, the next hospitals, all of those things. Next slide. In 2020, this is the first time around that we are encouraging everyone to do it online. Before that, we did not do it online, mainly because we were so concerned about confidentiality and the security of the information. So we're trying to get as many people as possible to respond online, but you can still respond by phone, by paper, or in person. We're already at about a 40% response rate, which is phenomenal. So we sent out the cards in mid-March, and our official first day was April 1st. And to be already at 40% is really great. That's a tribute to our partners. You go to the next one. So as I said, April 1st was our census day. We do have mobile questionnaire sites that we're going to be putting in place around our communities. Those were supposed to already happen, but because of COVID-19, they've been suspended for now. Field operations has been suspended at least until April 15th, but I've not heard if that's going to be extended. And then we have non-response follow-up, which is when we start sending people door to door. And they don't go just to every door. They go to the doors of the houses and residences that have not responded to the census. So if you would like someone to not come to your house, the easiest way to do that is to make sure you respond online beforehand. We wrap up data collection in August for the decennial census, and by the end of December, we give the results of the census to the President of the United States. You go to the next slide. So what's happening right now, we're still recruiting. Believe it or not, I know we're kind of late in the game because some of the people that are being hired still, are going to take 6 weeks to get through the background checks, but we are still hiring people to do the door-to-door process. It starts around $23 an hour, and they ask you to be able to work at least 10 hours a week, and you have to be 18 years old and employable in the United States. Group quarters count, currently suspended, but that is the process by which we count folks that are in homeless shelters, prisons, nursing homes, hospitals, that sort of thing, that don't have a particular address that they are working in or living in. CCC is doing their work. Those are the complete count committees. We've approached every city, municipality, county, and state about doing a complete count committee. What those committees' job is to target the areas of their community that had low response rates to the 2010 census and try to raise the awareness of those in their community and to try to raise the response rate. Because the municipalities, the counties, the states understand that if for every person we miss counting, those are potential federal dollars that will not be distributed. And so it's incredibly important that we get everybody counted in the right place at the right time and only once. The national initiatives that we have going on, statistics in schools, we're reaching out to all the school districts, the higher education schools as well, to try to get students to make sure that they are counted. But for the primary and secondary schools, sometimes the children speak more fluent English than their parents or their grandparents at home. And so we're hoping that if we can get the kids excited, that we can get the parents excited about it as well. We have a national initiative for LGBTQ because that's a community that tends to be not as engaged in the wider community sometimes. We have another national initiative going through the faith communities as well, because those are trusted voices in our communities that can help to spread the word that the census is safe and fast and confidential. The mobile pop-up events. So we have a map on our website. We'll see it here in a minute, but it's showing real-time data for the response rates. And so once we are cleared with the COVID-19 process, we're going to begin having mobile pop-up events in the areas of town that are already showing low response rates to try to raise those response rates in real time. So the mailings went out in March, and then the enumerators, those are the folks that are going to go door to door. When we release them into the community, then we'll make sure to let everyone know. And go to the next one. So the structure of a complete count committee, and Councilman Flores knows this well. It is the mayor, the highest elected official, usually appoints the members of the complete count committee. What they try to do is bring around a table a group of folks that represent a wide swath of the community so that we can reach out to all aspects of our community to make sure that we reach out to those that are underrepresented especially, and to help create coalitions to try to get everybody into having as accurate a count as possible. Councilman Flores, do you have anything to add to that?
Yes, thank you, Chris. And that is correct. That's essentially the mission of the Complete Count Committee. I co-chair that committee along with Councilwoman Kelly Allen Gray. And what we elected to do during our initial meetings is to divvy up the focus that we wanted to achieve. We broke it down into subcommittees, and each subcommittee, again, has a very unique focus and approach to how they're going to up the count, especially in historically undercounted or uncounted areas of town. So we divided it up into education, government, media, faith-based, community, and business subcommittees. And those subcommittees have a chair selected, and that chair selects who they want to serve on those subcommittees. And we intentionally kept them small in number because we didn't want anything unwieldy, and we wanted them to be able to meet regularly and be able to report back to the entire committee. And during our Complete Count Committee meetings, we hear from each. We have a schedule of reports that we hear from the subcommittees, We try to identify areas that we need to further emphasize so that we can get the highest count possible.
Thank you very much for that, Councilman Flores. Tony, if you could go to the next slide. So these are just some of the different kinds of folks that would come around the table, so to speak, in a complete count committee to try to reach out to all the different aspects of our community. And then you go to the next slide. So these are some of the groups that are key, especially in our Tarrant County area. We've got complete count committees in Fort Worth, Arlington, Benbrook, Mansfield, HEB, because Hershey Bedford decided to go together to do one, and then River Oaks. Tarrant County, of course, is doing a lot of effort, and the statewide one is called Texas Counts. We've approached all the cities and towns. All the school districts are partners with us, all the hospital systems, most of the major employers, and a lot of the nonprofits, faith communities, and most of the colleges and universities. Next slide. So this is where we started. This was called Response Outreach Area Mapper, or ROAM, and this is on census.gov website. You can go there, you can, in the top left corner, you can type your address, you can type your county, you can type your city, you can type your neighborhood, whatever it is, and it will tell you what the response rates are in that particular area. What you're looking at here is a picture of Tarrant County, and so it's color coded in this map. The yellow is the best. Those are the higher response areas, and the dark blues are the lower response areas. And so typically a complete count committee, for example, would look to see where those darkest blue areas are, and those would be the first areas they would target. So if you go to the next map, and this is our actual response rate map that's in real time right now, and this one's opposite of the first map. In the first map, dark blue was not what you wanted. In this map, we're working towards dark blue. So it's a little confusing, but you can see there that in a lot of ways, this map mirrors the previous map. The previous map was response rates to the other surveys. This is the response rate to this survey in real time. And this was from last Friday. We're already at 42.9% in Tarrant County. So that's a good start. We've got a long way to go, of course. We're going to be focusing on all those dark brown areas to begin with, especially incorporating our complete count committees and our partners that are in our communities, and doing mobile response efforts, and also mobile questionnaire sites as well, to try to raise all of those to get them as high as possible. Our goal is always 100%, but we know that may not be possible everywhere.
Chris, this is Councilman Flores. I just wanted to jump in.
Yes, sir.
While we were talking, I did get on so I could see the response tool on the 2020census.gov website. Mm-hmm. And the numbers still correlate. I backed out a little bit to see it at the state level.
Okay.
And currently the Texas self-response percentage rate is at 40.4%. Nationally, how does that compare? The nation's at 45.1%.
Right.
And then this is an interesting stat also. You mentioned how this is the first time ever for the 2020 census that we are going the route of having an online option. Yes, I did my census online. Currently, the response rate for internet census fill-outs is 35.7%. This is at the state level for us at Texas.
Right. So we know that there are some areas that don't have internet access, for example, or don't have regular access to a device that would have internet access. And so those are also areas that we're going to be targeting, especially some of the very rural areas are going to have lower internet response rates because they don't have access to those resources. But even Castleberry ISD, which is in the River Oaks area, they're actually building 3 Wi-Fi towers to cover their ISD geography in Wi-Fi, because they know a good proportion of their students don't have access at home. And so they're going to provide them access as a school district. So that's some of the challenges that we have that we're going to be looking at and working through and trying to reach out to those areas to try to raise the awareness of the census, to ease anyone's fears in those areas about filling out the census, and then to encourage them to do so. You want to go to the next slide? So we do have some particular groups within our community that are typically undercounted, and some of which you might be able to guess, which are folks for which English is not their first language, recent immigrants, for example, who don't understand the process maybe, or are fearful of the government, people who are renters, for example, people who are elderly as well, because they're not as connected in the community. But one of the groups that gets overlooked, believe it or not, are children under 5. They were undercounted by 1 million children in 2010. And that's for various reasons. Sometimes it's because there are 2 parents that are separated and they assume the child's going to go on one form and the child doesn't get on any form. Sometimes it's because the parents don't realize their children that are newborns should be on the form as well. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons, but we're really trying to make sure that we reach out to parents, to families, to communities to make sure that they know that every single person, regardless of their age, needs to be on the form.
Chris, there's one point I'd like to make on your first presentation. The first time I heard your presentation, you made a great point too, because even if they're a newborn, this covers the next 10 years.
Right.
So we never know what the needs of that child are going to be within the next 10 years. So they really have to be counted so that we have the necessary funding to accommodate whatever their needs might be.
Yeah, because if they're born today, by the next time the census comes around, they're in 4th or 5th grade. And so they, might be using resources at that point that we need to make sure we have federal funding for. Yes, sir. You can go to the next slide. So again, jobs are still being filled as we speak, although it's starting to wind down. You can go to the next slide. So how can you help? You can help by helping us get the word out to your communities, to let them know that it's safe, that it's quick, that it's easy, that it's confidential, that their information will not even be shared within the government. We don't give it to any other agency within the government other than our own. We don't give it to apartment managers. We don't give it to local police. We don't give it to ICE. We don't give it to anyone else. So the more that we can get everyone to fill out the census on their own, because that's the most accurate way to do the census when people self-report. If you wait until someone comes to your door, generally it's been shown that you'll give the answer that you think that person wants. So it's not quite as accurate as doing it on your own. But any ways that we can have more partners in the community that are spreading the word and raising the flag and shouting from a rooftop, whatever it takes for us to get the word out that the census is going on, it's still happening even in the midst of this new reality that we are in, and that we have a lot of wonderful partners that are already helping us doing that, but we are always looking for more to join the chorus. And there's my information if you need to get a hold of me in any way. Councilman Flores, do you have anything to add?
Not really, Chris. I think you covered it rather well. I appreciate you providing the presentation. And just for everyone's edification, very similar to what Chris presented during our Complete Count Committee meetings, we have similar presentations. In this case, Cynthia Cruz, Chris's colleague, is the one who makes presentations to the Complete Count Committee and informs us on the latest and greatest updates for the 2020 Census Complete Count.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we have Cynthia Cruz as my senior partnership specialist, and then there's me, and then Karen Gilmatos is also covering Tarrant County. And then we have a fourth one, Bernadine, who is also covering parts of Tarrant County, mostly in the Arlington area. And then we have also Letty, who is up in the HEB area. So there's a number of us that are in the Tarrant County area that are covering different parts. We tend to cover geographies, and so 4 of those 5 that I just mentioned are covering a quarter of Tarrant County, and then Cynthia Cruz covers the entire county kind of as our coordinator.
It's Tony again. I was going to add too that the reason this census is so important is because I moved here from California 11 years ago now, and in the time I've been here, I've seen such an influx of people from different parts of the country, for all the right reasons, hopefully, and they need to be all be counted because we have so many infrastructure items that need to be addressed. Our municipalities need more funds. Our school district needs more funds to be able to properly serve this influx of new constituents that need to be properly represented in budgeting in the budgeting process.
Absolutely.
So the better, more accurate count we have, the more we're going to be able to benefit from that influx of new residents.
Exactly.
So does anybody have any questions? Bill, you guys have anything?
No.
Okay.
Bill, which neighborhood are you in?
I'm in Chisholm Ridge.
Okay.
I have a question, Chris.
Yes,
I just got off the internet. I didn't have a chance to take a look at it when I was looking at the response maps. But on your slide, and this is something that we try to keep up with, because of COVID-19 and its impacts it's having to pretty much everything nowadays, and scheduling in particular, and in this case, the census, is that information that you presented in one of your slides available on the census website?
As far as
changes to the approach of how we're going to get the enumerators out there, what things we're doing still, what things we're not doing anymore.
Yes, sir.
Efforts made to get the count.
Yes, sir. There's a list on 2020census.gov.
Okay, so it is there.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
And it's all on one page, but there's an explanation for what each thing is, and so you have to scroll through to get to each of the bullet points, so to speak. But it is all on one page. It's all on one tab. I mean.
Okay.
And so they're updating that on a regular basis to make sure that everyone is aware. But also, Cynthia Cruz will be reaching out to you as I reach out to my partners. Any changes that we're made aware of as it comes down the pipe, so to speak, so that everybody knows, when we get back to doing what we're supposed to be doing, so to speak.
Yeah, I found it. The way now I see what you're referring to. Went to the very topmost toolbar when you go to the census website under news and events, and then you can go through it, down select appropriately, and it'll tell you what is impacted and how.
Yes, sir. Exactly.
Thank you, Chris.
Absolutely. Yeah, that website will be updated as much as possible so that we can get the word out to everybody that needs it. But also, as I said, that all of us in the partnership world of the census are being tasked with keeping our partners abreast of any changes that come.
Well, excellent. Excuse me. I really appreciate, Chris, the time you took to be here, as well as Councilman Flores. You're always welcome to be part of these presentations. And we are in this, we're in the bigger thing that we're experiencing right now at this time with the health crisis. We're in that together, but we're also in this together because the census is for all of us.
Absolutely.
So this is something we need to get rid of some of this misinformation that's floating around, and be clear for some people who think they just don't need to respond, and they do. They really do, so that they're properly represented. Because there's so many social services that are supported by the numbers that are represented in the census.
Right.
So we need to give our legislators that kind of information. Chris, one thing you could maybe add are examples, because you gave us before some examples of the types of agencies that utilize census data and how they apply it.
How they apply the data?
Yeah, because I think you mentioned a few different agencies that might, they don't know the details, they don't know the personal information, but they just get the overall numbers for different parts of the country when it may come to law enforcement money, social service, health services money.
Right. Yeah, all of that. There are places that you can Google the top, federal programs, for example, as far as federal dollars that are distributed, and you can see a lot, where a lot of that money ends up going. But it covers things like Medicare, Medicaid, free and reduced lunch, transportation dollars for building of mass transit as well as roads. It helps to reimburse for hospital beds. I mean, you can just go down the list. There's a huge, it impacts everything.
And I'm sure looking forward to Texas receiving a few more seats in the House too. So we're going to make sure we get a real good count there.
There you go. And then they'll have to redraw all the lines to accommodate those extra seats as well.
Yeah, that's true. We're ready.
There you go.
All right. If there's nothing else, folks, I really appreciate you coming in here and connecting. And I hope the census is recorded, that everybody benefited from this information. And if you haven't responded to the census already, please do. There's a lot of different ways to do so. So we're looking forward to your response.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you,
Councilman Flores.
Sure. And it only takes a few minutes. I got my census response done just under 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of time. Online, very simple, straightforward.
Right.
That's the message.
Okay, everyone. Well, thanks for attending. And I'd be remiss as a council member if I didn't remind you all, please, abide by the mandate. We are in a serious circumstance. We've been upgraded to, substantial, if you want to think about it that way. Not much of an upgrade, but it does increase the seriousness of what we find ourselves in. So maintain social distancing. Don't take any trips that you don't have to take outside of home. Stay home, practice good hygiene. Above all, be safe. And visit the city website for any latest COVID-19 information.
Thank you, Councilman. That's good information.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, have a great evening. And I hope those of you who celebrate this particular time of year, it's Holy Week for a lot of people. And I hope you enjoy and can connect with your family members online, and certainly celebrate with the family members you have in your households. So with that, thank you very much, and y'all have a good evening.
Thanks, Tony.
Okay, have a good day. Bye.
Bye.